we also got to talk about the Clippers because they gave up a lot for Paul George and they just allowed him to walk away and not really get anything in return. I mean, you go down the line, they gave up Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. He is one of the top guards in the NBA. They gave up 5 first-round picks and 2 pick swaps. That is a lot of stuff to give up for a player, and then they just let him walk. So I think that they kind of got burned, especially by the CBA, the new collective bargaining agreements, which did not really allow them to sign Paul George to that 4-year extension that he wanted. And it would have hampered them if they did do that. So they were a little hesitant to do that. But they are one of the bigger losers in free agency this year.
Yeah, they might be the biggest loser for being honest about it because you talk about letting Paul George walk, but just think about the 5 years that him and Kawhi were together. What was the high moment for your team in this 5 year run? Getting to the Western Conference and Kawhi goes down again, and that being your main theme throughout like this whole tenure of that duo together, both players being injured almost every year. So when you look at what you got out of it, it's not really anything to show for, unfortunately. You mentioned the pick swaps, you mentioned Shea Gilgis and all the other guys that got traded
Five first
away.
round picks.
5 first round picks, and you're probably going to be in a situation to where you would like to have those picks now because you, like you said, you let Paul George walk, so you don't really have many assets to even try to replace or fulfill that in some way. I know they signed Derrick Jones Jr. to a like 2 year, $30 million contract or something along those lines, but that's just not going to suffice unless you're putting your faith in James Harden, and they're not even bringing Russell Westbrook back. You're losing the person you would have preferred to keep, to be honest, because Harden, I wouldn't put my trust in Harden like that, and I feel like this team is just made up of guys that are not reliable. So you're kind of stuck in a predicament going into the new arena this year, but I don't think you can really do anything to salvage this situation. Like you said, you lost in this situation. I mean, like even if you compare it to what the Lakers did to get Anthony Davis, they at least have a championship to show for it. They at least have 2 conference finals to show for it. I mean, it hasn't been the best either. It's been pretty ugly for the LeBron and AD tenure, but they at least have like hardware. Even if you want to consider the in-season tournament, which I mean, for us, it's not going to really mean anything. Maybe 20 years down the line, it might hold some weight, but they have things to show for it. Some successful or tangible things to say we got this out of what we gave up, and because even if you look at the players they traded, they gave up some really good talent as well. But I would feel better if I was the Lakers than I was the Clippers. You just didn't get the value you were expecting to get by making that trade for Paul George. And like he said, they got burnt by the new bargaining agreement and stuff, but you got to try something to at least get value back for what you gave up.
Yeah, and that's the tough part because Paul George really dictated that because he had the player option. He opted out and then he signed with the 76ers. It just, like you mentioned, they did not really get the value out of those players while they were there. They underachieved during that time there. A lot of people set expectations of them at least making it to a championship, and they never did. A lot of that was due to injuries, but at the end of the day, they just did not reach expectations. They underachieved. So it just, it's tough for the Los Angeles Clippers, but for the Philadelphia 76ers, I think that they went out there and Embiid being, I believe he's 30 years old at this point in time, this is the time to go in on trying to win a championship while he's in his prime, while Maxey is starting to enter into his prime. And Paul George is a piece that I think can help them compete for a championship.